How are you doing, Internet? I'm Beatnuts, and now is not the time to panic, of my fellow creators here on YouTube. Yes, COPPA exists, and it will be enforced by the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, but there are reasons why you don't have to worry as much as perhaps we thought we would, and I will go through that in my video. In fact, I will be reading from extracts that I found or that are on FTC's website about COPPA. And these are things that are related to YouTube and YouTube content. And then I will analyze what it means for us here on YouTube. And then I will end with some recommendations for different types of channels. What is COPPA? So the amended rule sets out, this is on their FAQs page, or facts. The amended rule sets out a number of factors for determining whether a website or online service is directed to children. These include the subject matter of the site or service, your subject, its visual content, how it looks, use of animated characters or child-oriented activities and incentives, music or other audio content, age of models, presence of child celebrities or celebrities who appeal to children. Does it appeal to children in any of these categories, really? The language or other characteristics of the website or online service, or whether advertising, promoting, or appearing on the website or online service is directed to children. One of the most important factors for me is the language. And I've never spoken to my audience as though they were anything lesser than me in intellect or age. I've mostly spoken to you as though you were my peers, or perhaps even superior to me in some aspect. So language, definitely not for kids. Visual content is mixed in on my channel, as sometimes I might review an animation, and that also includes the use of animated characters, but not necessarily child-oriented activities, and I don't usually offer incentives, at least not yet. Music, just general royalty-free stuff that I usually use. I don't have any models apart from models behind me. No child celebrities, at least not yet, or other celebrities. Advertising, I don't control. It's YouTube that would control whatever advertising appears on my channel, or in the cases where some company has made a claim regarding copyright, they might monetize some of my videos and place advertisements there. I don't see money from it, but they do. So it's really up to them. And if it's directed to children, it's something that they've determined. However, but I suppose first of all, I should have explained what COPPA is. So the Child Online Privacy and Protection Act, as it's called, is designed to protect children online and their privacy by making it so that their information, private information, personal information, and information that would be gathered by cookies cannot be in fact gathered and used online. Or at least not without written explicit parental consent, which would be mailed in or faxed in according to the rules of COPPA. Alright, so it doesn't have anything in regards to whether or not the material is appropriate to children. It just determines that when something is directed towards children in any of the ways that I mentioned before, then COPPA applies. You're not supposed to gather information. If you don't gather information, then you're complying. If you have consent, then you're complying. Alright, so let's continue. The rule also states that the Commission will consider competent and reliable empirical evidence regarding audience composition, as well as evidence regarding the intended audience of the site or service. The FTC will consider empirical evidence. If you can provide evidence that your channel or the videos are not intended for children, then they will likely give you a pass. And also, who is your intended audience? Down here. And then audience composition, that you can find under look in your analytics on YouTube. You should be able to see the age and also the gender groups for your channel and what they are composed of. Currently mine, I don't have the information for, primarily because I haven't been very active, so my audience hasn't been very active either. Just because your video has bright colors or animated characters doesn't mean you're automatically covered by COPPA. While many animated shows are directed to kids, the FTC recognizes there can be animated programming that appeals to everyone. This is something that can help reviewers, because as long as they're addressing an audience that is more mature than children and they can demonstrate that, well, then the FTC will probably support you. The amended rule also considers a website or online service to be directed to children where it has actual knowledge that it's collecting information directly from users, or another website or online service that is directed to children, which means that you have to have knowledge of their age and that they're collecting information. The reason why this is relevant to us is because the FTC recently brought legal action against YouTube because YouTube had basically been bragging about the young audience and how YouTube is so popular with them. If you look at the filings, the papers from this case, and you can get to them from FTC's website, I forget if it's either the FAQs or it's probably their most recent article on determining whether your channel is directed towards children. You can find there the filings, and around page 10 or so, it goes into cases of specific channels which talk about what certain programs are aimed towards. And it also talks about these specific channels also having a presence on YouTube Kids. And so that's why they brought the fines against YouTube, because they were saying that they have child audiences and their advertisement that was there was also directed towards the children. And this is also very relevant because in YouTube's terms of service, YouTube, not YouTube Kids, they have a statement where users should, or at least have to be, 13 years of age or older. If they're 12 and under, they're considered children. They should be watching YouTube Kids. If they're 13 or over, they can watch YouTube. But if they're 12 or under, then they shouldn't be on YouTube watching it or creating for it, either way. However, YouTube doesn't have a check for this. You don't even have to be logged in to view or search for videos on YouTube. And there is certainly no age gate where you would enter in your date of birth and then the algorithm would consider whether or not you're within the accepted age range and then take action according to that. There is no age gate currently on YouTube. So YouTube got slapped with a $140 million penalty because of that, and as part of their deal with the FTC, they're now passing the buck on to us YouTube creators so that we have to determine and declare whether or not our channels or our videos are intended for children or adults. They've given us those two choices right there, but there are some things that YouTube isn't telling us, including that the FTC will base their decisions on evidence. and also that there are these different exceptions. COPPA only covers information collected online from children. It does not cover information collected from adults that may pertain to children. Thus, COPPA is not triggered by an adult uploading photos of children on a general audience site or in the non-child directed portion of a mixed audience website. So, this means that you can declare your channel either general audience or mixed audience, and that should help you out, but only if, according to the criteria up here, you're directing your material towards a mixed audience and not toward a child audience. And I'm assuming as well here, I'm assuming and haven't confirmed that it covers video as well as photos, but it also stated somewhere else within the FAQs that if the adult blurs the child's face, then that is a good way to help out as well. The rule does not require operators of general audience sites to investigate the ages of visitors to their sites or services. See this? However, operators will be held to have acquired actual knowledge of having collected personal information from a child where, for example, they later learn of a child's age or grade from a concerned parent who has learned that his child is participating in the site or service. That's not the only case. Sometimes people will comment on their age. So in this case, when you know the age of a child, you're supposed to delete the content that they put on there so that you no longer have them participating that way, I guess. You're not supposed to collect information from children, and that's why you're deleting where you got that information. You might still know that they're a child, but hopefully if you explain it to them that you can't have this information, they won't post it again. But general audience sites, right? In circumstances where children are not the primary audience of your child-directed service, assuming this is child-directed, the amended rule allows you to employ an age screen in order to provide COPPA's protections to only those visitors who indicate they are under age 13. Note that sites or services directed to children cannot use the age screen to block children under age 13. So this was what I was hinting at before. When I said that YouTube does not employ an age screen, this means that there is no protection currently for children under the age of 13 on YouTube. But they could employ an age screen and basically fix the whole mess, because then children under 13 wouldn't be able to access YouTube. They would have a cookie in place so that once a child entered the age, they wouldn't be able to alter it by going back or whatever. And hopefully they won't lie, but no one can really prevent anyone from lying about their age, at least not online. We're not responsible for looking for their ages. And the last part is the FTC is currently evaluating the rule in light of rapid changes in technology. If you'd like to comment on the effectiveness of the COPPA rule and whether changes are needed, the FTC has extended the comment deadline to December 9th, 2019. This is very important. So I will hopefully remember to leave a link to the place where you can leave a comment for the FTC for their review. If you would like to comment to them about COPPA and how it may not work as well as they intended, then I would like to ask that you compose your thoughts well and be succinct, to the point, and well thought out. That way they would be more likely to listen to you. Although from this, because it has the general or mixed audience exceptions, and because the FTC is willing to consider evidence, it seems a lot more reasonable than what YouTube has given us to believe. About these criteria, you have to evaluate your channel and your content for yourself, whether or not you believe that, according to that, it would or would not be aimed and directed at children age 12 and under. That's because if you mislabel your videos, you could end up with a fine. Now, fortunately, COPPA has also indicated that they will take into account whether or not you would be a viable business by taking on the brunt of the fines. If you cannot, then they would lower it. They've even said, I don't think it was in the facts, but it might have been in the article, that in one case, someone who was found to be in violation of the COPPA rules had to pay something like $35,000 in total, as opposed to the $42,000 and change per video, or what YouTube had to pay, which was in the millions. They're not expecting everyone to be able to pay the full fine amount. That's just more of an example of the penalty that you might have to pay if you label in error. The thing is, again, that YouTube only gave us two options. This is directed towards children, this is not directed towards children. If you choose to label your videos as being directed to children, you lose a lot of the features that would have given you revenue, including directed advertisements, including end cards, and all those other widgets that are part of YouTube's whole toolkit. You would lose those. But, as I said before, children aged 12 and under aren't supposed to be on YouTube in the first place, according to YouTube's terms of service. They're supposed to be on YouTube Kids, if anything at all. So, that said, your audience is going to be on another platform. Consider that. Now, if you have a channel that has a lot of child-related things, you might be able to change your tone for a mature audience. The overall tone of the channel, I mean, and of the content. However, the videos that you made in the past are a different issue. You may have to mark those as intended for children anyway, and call that a loss in order to avoid getting fines. But otherwise, you really don't have to run for the hills on this one. This is something that can be managed, and it should be managed more properly than YouTube has led us to believe. Because they haven't told us about the mixed or general audience options. But they do exist, as well as providing evidence, according to what the FTC has posted, that if you can, at least, if your channel is directed towards a more general audience, you can provide that evidence and the FTC will most likely back you. As they've demonstrated by answering questions and posting the article, updating their criteria, the FTC seems to care a great deal about supporting content creators. And even though content creators would be losing revenue if they declare their content as intended for children, at least they won't be paying the fines, or at least the full fines. And we now know that the FTC will consider whether or not you can survive if you pay full or partial fines. They'll adjust according to what you can do. So that's nice to know. YouTube didn't tell us, but the FTC did. So there is all of that. Of course, if your channel is directed towards a mature or more mature audience, then the kids below that age, if they're at least 13 years of age, then you're pretty much in the clear as long as you declared that. But you should also show it on your website, on your YouTube page, on your About part of that page. because as I mentioned earlier, one of the major factors that allowed the FTC to file suit or action against YouTube was the channels were saying this channel has content for children of this age, and that it was popular on YouTube for these people. If you make a declaration on your about, and and it's a declaration that is true, then you shouldn't have a problem. So you can declare a general or mixed audience, and that's your intended audience, and you should be relatively okay, assuming, again, that this is true. If you really do have content that is intended for children, then you have to declare for children. And of course, the COPPA rules as they stand are set to come into effect in January. Start of January 2020, which is soon. But we do have some time to help the FTC reconsider. We have until December 9th. So again, I will put a link into the description for the FTC site where you can comment. I should probably link the FAQ and the article as well, so you can take a look at those. I will also link a petition that is online for reconsidering COPPA. So FTC seems to be more willing to cooperate. YouTube, however, has only given us 2 options, so we have to navigate through that, and hopefully YouTube won't be able to slam us. It's the FTC that are enforcing the COPPA rules. YouTube can flag content and remove content at will, I suppose. They're the ones who are our platform, but we can't rely on them to cover for us because they're the ones who's passing the buck to us. So we have to rely on our own merits and our own content's merits to cooperate with FTC and be COPPA compliant. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to post a disclaimer, an informative statement that my videos are directed towards a mixed and general audience. Is not intended for children, especially due to the language that I use in my videos. I might not swear, but the language that I use is at a level that's above most average children aged 12 or below. I know a few clever kids, but my audience, my intended audience in general, are other adults. And maybe some teens, if they like to watch the stuff that I put out. And also, these aren't toys. They're collector's items and model kits, and I don't think I would trust most children with a pair of nippers. So that's, again, another reason why my content would not be considered for children. So I hope that was helpful and informative, and that you can find a way to continue to thrive on YouTube or other services, and other services in addition to YouTube, using the information that I'm sharing with you now. So thank you all for joining and watching me. No, I did not forget to ask for likes or subscribes. This is more of a businessy and serious video. You can if you want to, but I won't ask for it this time. See you in the next video.